Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
And I'm your co-host, Ian.
And I'm your guest, Anne.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children, but neither is our D&D games. Ironic, considering today's topic.
Yeah, actually, it is our goal here at Crit Academy Studios to hopefully make this episode suitable for children. We'll see how far we make it.
I suspect that you're going to have a hard time editing this one, for that very reason.
Yeah, I suspect too, but that's how it goes, I guess. Alright,
And you know what, Tater? We would not have it any other way.
what did he say?
Not a patron, but a pain in the arse.
It's the only setting I come on, bastard.
Editing already.
Damn it! Oh man,
Making Justin's life hard in 2 easy steps.
I'm sorry to future Justin, who's editing out all my swear words.
Motherfracker.
Thanks for joining us today here at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like a fantasy world without any children.
And really, then, what would be the point of adventuring? Isn't the whole point to save children?
Sometimes.
I mean, mostly adults are rude and inconsiderate, so I'm really not out to help them most of the time, but it's all for the children.
You mean,
Save the children! Help the children!
you mean we're not trying to help deep fry them?
What?
Exactly.
Are you a little...
Maybe the children wouldn't need to get saved as much if that many dark rituals didn't require the obligational sacrifice of a child.
Right?
What's up with that in fantasy settings?
I don't know. It's either a child needs sacrificing or a virgin. And I feel like in
require
fantasy...
orphans for this, apparently. So bring them in. Have to export them in from out of state.
We got a really great episode for you today. If you're just hearing this new voice, Brandon has had surgery and now his voice is much deeper. No, I'm kidding. We have a very special guest with us, Anne Gregersen. Did I get that right?
Sure. Yeah, you did.
I messed up Gregersen too.
Yeah, it's English. If you say it in English, it's correct. So yes, I'm called Anne Gregersen to all my English friends. So it's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah. What is you hear something? Okay, no, maybe it's just me. We have a special guest with us today to help lead us on a wonderful adventure discussing your book, Little Heroes, as our main topic today. I'm really excited for that. We answer a question regards to petrification from Joshua, and of course we have our Unearthed tips and tricks where we bring you new and reusable material for both players and DMs. But before all that, we like to start the show on a high note. I totally went out of order, didn't I?
What's new?
Oh, you know what? But before all that, we like to give out fat loots, and we do that compliments of our sponsors. Anne, who's our winner of Goblinstone today?
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
The winner under the sponsored Goblinstone ad thingy right there. It's a big bowl.
The winner is Beholder's Horde with an E at the end.
Just like home, ain't it? Wait, no, that's not English, is it? Is that Scottish? Celtic. It's Celtic.
Celtic.
Whatever.
Hard say.
Is it Celtic or Celtic?
You know what? It's just an ocean between those two. It's fine.
Congratulations, Beholder Horde. If you enjoyed the adventure, please head on over to DM's Guild and leave Goblinstone a review. If you don't know, leaving a review for a content creator is one of the best things you can do aside from purchasing the product. It lets them know, it gives them feedback to help them improve it. It also lets others know what they're getting, so please do that. Now, before we get into the show, we like to spend a few minutes talking about what's going on in our realm. Anne, what's going on in your realm?
Oh, that's a lot of stuff. I sense it myself there. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life.
Oh, hello, Cyrus.
As I mentioned before we were chatting, I'm a student, so I've just been through some exams, and hopefully I'm coming through that with everything intact and no body parts missing. But that's pretty much it going on for me right now, and then I'm doing a bit of work for DM's Guild and other creative writing things and stuff like that.
Wonderful.
I'm very busy all the time.
It sounds like it, especially being a student. I was a student once. I don't remember much because it was just all kind of jumbled together, but I think I went to school for a while. Would you like to ask Ian what's going on in his realm?
Yeah, what's going on in your realm, Ian?
Oh, well, glad you asked. This weekend, I actually caved and finally bought into the alpha for the game Spellbreak that Justin's obsessed with.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, damn it. I'm sorry. Justin, edit this crap out.
Yeah. And there's definitely a pretty good foundation there, and it's kind of fun. And I liked how, unlike in PUBG or Fortnite, where you can walk across the fields and your heads like explode because you get sniped by the Terminator from halfway across the map.
That's funny.
Am I wrong?
You're not.
They're actually, it's a little bit slower pace, so you can actually fight back. So that part's kind of nice. And I actually did go out on a date again, as you know. So
What's his name?
finally,
What's her name? Sorry.
same gal as last time.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah. And she happened to be passing through town because she was visiting family. So I'm like, well, since you're passing through, want to go lunch? Like, okay.
Oh, convenience factor.
Yep.
She drives through here, you pay for a lunch. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And Justin, what's going on in your realm?
Thank you for asking, Ian. A lot of playtesting has been going on our next published content for DM's Guild, our Gun Mage. I'm getting a lot of great feedback, making all the necessary adjustments, and I'm super stoked for this to come out and be released for everyone. I think everyone will have a good time. Brandon certainly has enjoyed it, and several of the people that wrote me back with playtesting, it's going great, and I'm having a blast with that. And I'm way too busy.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, I might be starting another podcast. Yes.
You barely have time for this one.
Okay.
I know.
Because you don't have enough to do. So
Well, you know, it's yeah, I like Spellbreak so much. I think I'm gonna do a podcast about it. So we'll find out when the NDA lifts. That, or I'll end up becoming a streamer. Either way, keep an eye out for that. If you enjoy, if you want to see some of our streams and stuff, you can actually follow us at twitch.tv/CritAcademy. I'm usually the only one streaming anything that's not related to our D&D game stuff. But you can just come and hang out, kick it with me, and insult my playstyle because I suck at every game I play. So I think that'll do it for In the Realm. Ian, if they'd like to visit other realms, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to our website and they can click the link and get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial to Audible.
Nailed it.
I did read before Brandon, you know.
Yeah. So moving on to our next topic, we have our Let's Talk About Blank segment where we answer listener submitted questions, and I really like this question. So I'm really excited to hear Anne's thoughts on it. This comes from Joshua B. A character is bleeding to death. Unable to stop the magical bleeding, they're out of spells at this point. Can the petrification spell be used to freeze the character until such a time as healing is available? Plus the de-petrifying, of course. Also, could the same tactic be used in case of deadly poison or disease until a cure is found? Anne, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's certainly interesting, and I'm willing to just let people, if it was my players who came up with that idea, I'd let them do it just because it's very creative to actually do that. But like looking at how petrified the condition is described, then I would say yes, because it says that you're transformed into a solid inanimate substance, which must mean that all bleeding is halted in some way. But also reversing petrification can be very difficult and requires some high-level spells, if I recall correctly. I think it's Greater Restoration needs to be used to reverse the effect if you're turned into stone, at least.
Right.
Yeah. So unless you have some safe way, a petrification stun gun or something like that, I don't think I don't think that's what the portable Medusa head is for necessarily.
But I think that's really cool that you'd be willing to allow him to do it. I think there's a spell like Flesh to Stone that would allow a player to do this. So if you had somebody that had that spell, I, as the DM, would definitely allow this. And if you actually reference the petrified condition, it actually says some very interesting things. The most important one is that they cease aging, and the creature is immune to poison and disease, although if already poison or disease is already in the system, it is suspended. So if it suspends, already calls out that it suspends diseases and poisons, I totally see that why wouldn't that also suspend bleeding to death, you know? So I'm right on the same page as you. I think that is pretty cut and dry as far as like interpretation of the rules. As far as raw, I couldn't find anything against it. I don't know if you are aware of anything.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not gonna lie. The first thing I thought of when I read this was there's a webcomic called 8-Bit Theater. It's done, but this guy basically like wrote an entire webcomic using sprites from the original Final Fantasy.
Dope.
And the monk character got petrified, and they just like let him go for a while. But then the white mage wanted to bring him back. It's like, I finally found the spells where I can unpetrify him. Huh? There's some damage to the head. That shouldn't be a problem. Unpetrifies him. Where the cell was missing on the head, geyser blood sign starts gushing out and he dies. I was like, whoops.
So I do like this. I don't think this is an alternative to save a player from death entirely. But if a player's, let's say, weren't confident in their medicine checks to stabilize a player or had no way to stabilize them, I would see this as a good enough alternative. But the real question is under petrified, the weight increases by a factor of 10. So who's going to drag that person around? Or are you just going to leave them in the middle of a volcano while you go and fetch a cure?
Bag of holding?
That was something I thought about with this, because you could do an extremely roundabout infiltration mission where you have someone with a very high charisma score and then turn the rest of the team into statues and go, well, we have statues to deliver to the castle. Let's just move them inside. And place them in the corridor and then turn them alive again. Ha-ha.
Nice.
No one saw that coming.
Trojan rocks.
Oh, God.
I kind of wanted to touch on that really quick. So our patrons are asking about our setup and how far away the camera is and everything. Currently, this is in process. This is going to move. I had 20 minutes before I got here to get it set up, but also my plan is to put individual cameras on each of us and have them jump as we're talking, so it's a full facial. That's not the words I probably should have used.
Nope.
It's a close-up shot as we're talking, and then you'll have the overview, kind of like a newsroom, right, where they got the big view and then the zoomed in. That's what I'm working towards, so I do apologize if it seems we're a little farther away than normal. So
well, that and the default camera subs is meant to have at least 3 people that too.
Yeah, so I will hopefully have that taken care of. I would say by the next recording, but I'm going to be honest, I'm lazy, so probably like 2 recordings from now, maybe. We'll see.
And yet I'm somehow lazier than you, and that's saying something.
All right, Joshua, I hope we answered your question. If we didn't, please send a letter to the complaint department at critacademy@gmail.com or at gmail.com with a $5 check, and we will expedite your complaint to the front of the complaint department and make sure that we read it and hear your thoughts. Or just deal with our answer and accept it.
Well, Taylor, Justin's face has not broke your tablet yet, so I'm not going to be too worried.
Thanks, Tate. Anyways, so moving on to our main topic. I am really excited for our main topic. We are going to be discussing Little Heroes. Obviously, we're going to be interviewing its creator, Anne Gregersen. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anne.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Also, thank you for letting me call you Anne.
Well, I've just learned by now that like people who speak English can't. No. Because I am from Denmark, so my name is Danish and pronounced differently. So Anne Gregersen is how it's pronounced in reality, but Anne Gregersen is completely fine.
Fair enough.
Good thing too, because my brain did not process what you said. It was like a word this long that was scrunched up into that much time. So Anne, so thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. My name is Anne, and I'm, as I said, I'm from Denmark, and I'm currently studying at our local university, studying digital design. And then I write stuff for DM's Guild in my spare time, and I also do a bit of freelance writing and also do some some painting as well on the side.
Nice.
That is a lot to keep you busy.
I'm a very busy person. I do a lot of things all the time.
Do you even have time for D&D?
Let's not talk about it.
But don't say your face said it all.
So once again, thank you for joining us on the show. Before we get into Little Heroes in this wonderful supplement you've written, can you tell us about your most memorable D&D experience or moment?
Yeah, there are a bunch though. So it's but one that really stands out was one of the first times where I actually played with people in person. Because when I started out playing with a lot of friends that I met through like online and stuff. So they were in different countries. We were just playing through webcams and through voice. And then at one point we were all together, and by all I mean 3 people, so it wasn't really that much. But we were all together in real life, and they were asking me, "Oh, could we play some Dungeons and Dragons? That would be so awesome." It's like, sure, we can play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll just need to prep some stuff. So I'll go into the next room and sit down and prep for a bit. So I prepped for maybe an hour, where I created an entire dungeon with maps, and I made minis out of little paper things and stuff like that.
Nice.
And we sat out in the living room with snacks, and everyone was ready. And they just completely abolished everything that I'd made and completely went off the rails, because it was a paladin and a druid, and I rolled for a random encounter where a thief stole something from them. And instead of saying, "Oh, shucks, dang, let's continue on with the adventure," they chased him throughout the city, down an alleyway, where he then vanished because he climbed on top of a roof. They understood it as if he'd crawled through a window. So the druid shapeshifted into a cat, while the paladin then football tossed the cat through the window into the office of a kind, innocent man who didn't expect a cat to be there, and hit the cat. Cats have 1 hit points. He hit the cat. It turned into a half-elf sitting on the floor in his office. And I panicked and role-played the old man to say, "You are an elf?" Whereas the person who was playing the elf in real life went and covered her ears and went, "No."
No elves here.
No. And that still rings so true for what the D&D experience is to me. Like, oh, you thought something. You thought they were no, that's not gonna happen. You can't expect anything in this game.
Nope.
That is an awesome story, and really, you're right. That encapsulates everything that makes D&D amazing. Because there's no way you could have planned for that, you know. So.
No.
I still laugh at how you did not expect us to spend 40 minutes that one time to investigate the builder of the town.
Oh my god.
This guy Bob, he does the under level. Let's see another builder in town. 40 minutes later, guess what? Bob is the only builder in town. Dang it! Alright. And so, Anne, are there any moments where you feel like you failed when you're playing at D&D, be it as a player or DM? And if so, how do you feel you've learned from the experience?
Well, let me just pull up my list here.
Savret, that's really funny. She says
a few chapters on various topics where I royally messed up. But I think one of the major problems or issues that I've faced actually corresponds very well to the topic at hand. Because one of the biggest problems that I couldn't just talk my way out of or reverse or anything like that was when I played with my younger siblings for the first time. And I've usually just played with people who are adults, who are my age or around my age at least, and it's a very mature game that we play. It's very gory and it deals with very scary topics, and I'm very, very visual and very graphic in my descriptions. So now I'm playing with these 2 kids, and I'm trying to reel myself back, but I failed a lot of times because I could tell that they weren't having fun when I described some of the things. They went like, "Oh," and got scared. And I just felt like, "Oh, no," because that's something I've taught myself to use that effectively, but when I used it with them, it had the complete opposite effect of what I was going for. So that really felt awful that they weren't having as much fun as I intended because of something that I'd done. And I really didn't like doing that.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what is it you specifically did to did you just become more aware of it and that's why you were able to overcome that, or is there like a specific technique you think you applied to do that?
The technique I use is that usually I speak very quickly and I try to move through descriptions very quickly just so we can get to the action quicker. But when I'm playing with kids, I tend to slow down way more and really think about what I'm saying before I say it, because when I improvise, I just like talk
Right.
and keep going. But when I'm sitting there with them, I really have to reel myself back and stop and think, okay, I can't just say that this spike comes down and impales their shoulder through their leg. No, that doesn't work, because then they will get very, very freaked out, as I have seen. So I will not do that. I will instead say something completely different, that
Right.
a boulder falls on their head and they go cross-eyed. That has a much bigger effect and better effect. So it's kind of like practicing different descriptors for
Mm-hmm.
playing with kids. That was my biggest hurdle when playing with a younger set of players, at least.
I feel like there's a missed opportunity there, not making Cedric an anvil instead.
An anvil. An acne's written on the side.
Of course.
Wonderful, and I think that's a really good segue into what we're here to discuss today. Your DM's Guild supplement, your D&D supplement, Little Heroes. Can you tell us and tell Crit Nation exactly what is Little Heroes, and really how did it come about?
Yeah, Little Heroes is a guidebook of sorts on how to play with children at your table, both in regards to having them sit there at the table as players, where you're kind of the DM. It's kind of written for the DM in that regard. And it also gives a guide to how to portray a child character in a tabletop RPG game with the perspective of a 5th edition role system. That's pretty much what it was about, and it's kind of because I wanted to know those things, and I didn't find any really resources online that could provide me with that. So I started researching a lot, and just my notes somehow made it into this book thing. I don't even know how it happened. Suddenly it was there.
And side note, Tater, what you said makes me sad, because it's true.
What did he say?
Kids these days wouldn't get the reference to Acme weapons.
Oh yeah,
Because they don't air Looney Tunes anywhere anymore.
I miss Looney Tunes.
But they air on what, Boomerang, and that's about it.
Is that still around?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't have kids, so I don't watch that stuff anymore.
And I used to watch it on broadcast television every Saturday morning.
Oh my god, we're old guys complaining about the good old days.
Right?
It's happened finally.
I'm only 30 something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, I first of all, I read through this book and I absolutely loved it. I think the writing is superb, which honestly, I'm a terrible writer, so I can appreciate the amount of effort that it takes to make it sound good and actually fit together. I only speak one language, and that's bad English, so I appreciate the thorough job that you did. So,
Thank you so much.
the first chapter in this book is you title it Children at the Table. Can you tell us kind of what that chapter entails, and what are some of the core details you try to get across to the DM?
Tater says you're as sharp as a bowling ball.
What?
Tater says you're as sharp as a bowling ball.
God damn it, Tater.
And it.
Damn it.
Yeah, the first chapter was really that was the intent of the book as it started out, because that's really what I wanted to know for myself, is how to properly have a game that's appropriate for children or for younger players, because I had no idea how to do that. So I wanted to research that and figure that out, and that's the first part of the book, because that really sets the tone for the rest of the work, I felt, also with the introduction moving into that. And it gives a few, I wouldn't say rules, but strong suggestions as to what you can do when you're playing with kids. Because something I state over and over and over again in the book is that kids are different from each other. You can't just say, all children do this. Children are still people, and people are very, very different. You can't say everyone will love this or everyone will do this. But these are rules that can safely be employed, and then you can tweak them as you see fit with the kids you have at your table. Because some children would be like, yeah, blood and gore, woo! And others would be, can't stand the thought of hurting a dog. Like those are different things, and you have to reevaluate depending on the kids who are sitting in front of you.
But short version, don't go all berserker goblin slayer on kids.
Good starting point.
You point out a couple different things that I found that were really interesting. You mentioned making the character process. You kind of go through and talk that to kids that could get kind of boring.
Yeah.
Even though for many people that's the most fun part. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, that is really the thing. And most of what I've based that on is also playing just with new people who've never touched a role-playing game in their lives. When you go down and say, when you show them a character sheet that's empty, they will look at it and be completely lost. They don't know what anything means. And where adults may have an interest to learn what the different things mean, most of the time kids don't really. They just want to play. They just want to learn the rules as quickly as possible so you can get to playing. So if you have to sit down and go, this is your proficiency bonus, and this is your strength modifier, and this is your saving throw, and this is your this, and they will clock out very, very quickly. And it's, if you try to, I'm speaking from my own siblings here who are not hesitant at all to tell me to shut the up. But when I played with them, I asked them, do you want to do your character sheets? And they were like, no.
That sure makes it easy.
So I just asked them, what do you want to play? And what my sister, she saw the picture of a tiefling. She's cool. And I went, okay, you're her now then. So
the reason why I just started cracking up is I recalled one time we're at a store I used to game at. We did like a multi-party dungeon, and one of the people who was running it, he brought his like I think at the time 4 or 5-year-old son, and he was playing as a ranger. And for the most part, just a piece of kid. You know how kids like to get things. So anytime somebody found like a mysterious magic item they didn't want, we just gave it to the kid. And one of the things that we found was a potion of flying, which he of course drank right away. He started flying around everywhere. And when we got to the final boss, we were fighting a Draco Lich. And I remember to this day when it got to the kid's turn, and we're like, "Okay, Connor, what do you want to do?" He's like, "I'm gonna fight behind the dragon and hit him from behind with the rapier."
Raper? Hit him from behind with the rapier?
no.
Instead of a rapier, of course.
Yeah,
and we all just burst out loud laughing because of like only a child would say that and not under. And of course, he had no idea why the heck we were all laughing loud.
I'm gonna hit him with the raper.
From behind.
From behind with the raper.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's a good one.
And he was so innocent about it that just made it even worse.
Right. So Tate says, "Heck, I clock out after 3 minutes into this show. Thanks, Tate. I love you too, you bearded bastard."
Counterpoint, Tate. If you're, all you have to do is shove a stick through your head, and it's now a mop.
This is beard. Another thing in this first chapter you talked about was the minimizing of mechanics in the simplifying dice. Are there any a couple good examples of mechanics you would recommend that be simplified to really make the game just go smoother?
That depends on really how, again, it depends on the kids at hand, because if you're dealing with kids who've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, it is my recommendation that you just play without spellcasting at all, because spellcasting is complicated, because sometimes you have to roll a saving throw, and then the creature has to roll, or sometimes you have to roll an attack roll, and then you had to add a number on top of that, and then you had to number on top of that. There's a bunch of numbers involved in spellcasting, and a lot of reading as well. So if they aren't interested at all in that aspect of the game, just give them a bow and say that the bow is a wand, and then it's the same. It's easy. It's easier. Like it doesn't follow the rules, of course, that you are now playing. Like the example I use is to use a human fighter. And a human fighter can have a bow. And then you give them a bow, and then you say, oh, well, you're totally this wizard type thing. And then you roll to hit, and then you shoot a blasting fire thingamajigger at the monster. Improvise stuff, because the kids, honestly, don't care, because they don't know the rules. They don't know what the rules are. You can make up your own role-playing game based on 5th edition that's just made for them and makes everything they do really, really awesome. And I feel like that's more important if you're just playing with kids, at least.
All right, two things. One, Cater, there's not enough bleach in the world.
You gotta give context to that, boss.
He just went to my mob camera's like, I actually thought it would have been a toilet brush instead. And B, he's like, too bad I can't clean this show up.
Oh, god damn it, Tate. Hey, I've been trying hard. Anyways,
and two, what do you think about the idea where, like, for example, on the show Harmon Quest, they bring on a lot of like a celebrity guests who, of course, don't have a D&D background, and more or less what they did was they just had the guest, just for the most part, say, "Okay, I want to do this," and the DM did all the dice rolls in the background, even for the players. Do you think
that's totally a thing you could do? Yeah.
So, do you think it maybe give back for kids to get them to help ease them in?
Yeah, I think definitely that the kids should do something. Right. Yeah, I think a good thing they could do is like roll the big dice, roll the d20 a few times, or roll the damage dice a few times, and then maybe you can do most of the rolling. For instance, if you ask them to do a check, I don't really see so I see maybe the DM is rolling a perception check for them, like, oh, your character spots this, and then they do all that stuff behind the DM screen, the same with saving throws, because that way what the kids need to, or the new players at least, will have to really focus on is pretty much just attack rolls. It's like, I want to hit the big guy, and I rolled a really large number. Does that hit? Yes, it does. Yay! It's like that whole thing. Because it is a game still, and to not have anything to do with the props that are in the game, in D&D's case, it's miniatures and dice. So if you're not allowed to play with them, I can see why some people would be some kids would be like sitting there and getting antsy because they're just talking and not moving around. There's no reason for them to sit at the table to play that game.
Yeah, and the reason that this section really spoke to me is because every Wednesday I run D&D for like 9, 10, 11-year-olds at my church. And one thing that I basically did is I took away almost all the skills. I let them each be proficient in one or two or three things, I think, and that's what they do. And those are the only dice rolls that they get as far as skill checks. And one of the characters wanted to be a arcane archer type of a character, and while there is an arcane archer thing, like archetype, it was too much. So basically what I did is I pre-picked his spells and I gave him a sorcerer and told him he's a guy with a bow, okay?
Yeah.
And he's none the wiser. I put a little picture of a guy with a fiery flaming arrow bow, and he's playing a sorcery, and his arrow is just firebolt, you know? And so when I was reading through this, that really stood out because those are techniques that I've seen and I know work, and that really lends a lot of credence to the whole point you're trying to make, is that they don't know and or care as long as you make it fun. And that really is what you're going for here, and I think you nailed it.
And one of our patrons, Tater, he says he feels that railroading for kids and new players can be quite helpful because it helps them learn the game, helps them learn the world, and especially if you have an extended session 0 to help them get used to the mechanics of the game.
Right.
It's just one less thing for you to worry about for them, and vice versa.
And that's one of the reasons why, the sorcerer, he's proficient in Arcana, and he's proficient in, I forgot the other one, history. So when those subjects come up, he's the person I turn to. I don't even bother giving attention to the other kids. They've got their thing. They've got their sets of skills that they are best at, and he's got what he's best at. And screw all the rest of the stuff, because that's not what's important. He only wants to know what's relative to him. And I found that by limiting their options, they're more engaged as well. When you give them too much, they're just like, what is all this stuff? So... And I don't know if your experience was similar to that.
That's just a general thing also with adult players, because I've been playing in a campaign that has 2 ranges, and the range is a bit like, why are there 2 of us? I want my thing, that sort of thing. Right, I think it's a very normal response to have as a player of all ages, that you want your thing to be your thing. I want to be the one who murders with swords. I want to be the one who do all the big spells. I want to be the one who does the sneaky thing with the thieves' tools. Like it's fun to have your stick and to keep at it. And I feel like doing what you did is giving the sorcerer guy or the bow, flaming bow guy, the history stuff and the arcana stuff. Like he has a thing that is his, that he knows everything about. And the other guys will have to look at him and wait for his character to inform them. So he has a distinct role in the group, and I think that's really, really good.
Right. And it works. Now, I can't speak to every table, but I know that that's something that seems to work with my kids, and I will continue to drive that forward. So continuing on through your chapter 1, I mean, and you guys that are Crit Nation, you're listening to this, there is so much content in here. There is a link to this book in our show notes, or you can just go to DM's Guild and type in Little Heroes. It's a copper bestseller, if I'm not mistaken, or right?
It's actually gold.
Oh, it's gold bestseller. That's awesome.
Upgrade.
Yeah, I hope we get copper soon. I'm told it's about 50 sales. We're almost there, but anyway,
it is about 50 sales. It's like 51-ish because it's a whole open bookshelf thingamajigger that if you check out on another site that doesn't count and stuff, it's a whole thing.
Right. So in your chapter 1, children at the table, you kind of talk about adults and kids playing together at the table, and that how having a child at the table can actually impact, whether directly or indirectly, how the adults behave. Do you believe that how do I word? Do you believe that can create a better experience or a worse experience or somewhere in between?
I think it can create a I think it's somewhere in between, because it depends on the kind of game you're bringing the child into. Because if you're playing with people who love to run around and do shady stuff and play evil or wicked characters who bully each other and stuff like that, and that's just how that game works. Different D&D games, different players. Some people think that's very, very fun. Having a child in that dynamic will switch things up too much from what is naturally going on. And if you're used to playing a very role-play heavy campaign that has a very intense story, that it requires very fine-tuned role-playing or maybe politics or some stuff like that, a child will not fit that role again. Like, it depends on the game that you're playing. If someone who is new to the role-playing system, and also just who the kid is.
Right.
Because they might be interested in a lot of talking, or they might just be interested in killing dragons. It's about mixing your players up accordingly. But I also think I mentioned in that chapter about kids and adults playing together that I've seen and heard about some adults being a bit, the kid can't keep up and now we all have to just kind of hang back and wait for him to understand the stuff. And I'm just there like, okay, you're the adult here, get your shit together.
You're very right.
Sure.
Although, once again, as we said before, I think it depends on the kid, because let's face it, some of the most twisted stuff I've ever heard came from children's heads.
Oh yes,
Yes.
actual game that I ran for my kids at church, shoving a mace up the rear end of a giant spider. That was his solution to stop it from casting web. So guess what? I decided it couldn't do no more. Cast web. I'm like, it makes sense to me. He's like, the web comes out of its butt, right? If I stick this in there, will it get stuck and not shoot webs anymore? I'm like, oh my god, you know what? You're very much very right.
All great DMs should do. They presented you with a scenario and you went, yes, and yes.
How do you tell a kid no, that logic makes too much sense, but he's using magic, he's not shooting stuff out of... Okay, alright, yeah, you know what, it works.
Yeah, I do find that you lose a lot of your DM credibility if you just roll on the floor laughing at the suggestion that has been made at you. You already lost, just let it happen. Just let him do it.
And Taylor says, they have no clue what they are saying, and usually the listener who has a twisted mind.
Oh, you know what, that might be it.
That could be a contributing factor.
I do have to tell you, though, this kid, his name is, he was playing with, and I swear to God, this little 11-year-old, I think he might be 12 now, 12-year-old kid was doing a Russian accent, and he named his character Putin, and he had a pair of sunglasses. He says, don't worry, I'm putting on my glasses. And that's what he would do when he would get serious. And I could not keep it in. I spent half of the first session laughing my head off. He's like, don't make me start putting on my glasses. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Baseball.
That's amazing. Consider that stolen, by the way.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about in chapter 1, you talk about not letting children die, or killing them off. Can you tell us a little bit of why you think that is?
That is, a good way of going about it also depends on how old the child is, and again, what kind of game you're playing. Because I feel like with very young children, losing a character like that can be pretty heart-wrenching and pretty devastating. I've seen it happen in adult players who've got very attached to their characters, and then having to lose them and start again, it can just completely ruin an adult person who's very connected to a character and make them very sad.
Yeah, we've seen some people get rather uptight about characters dying.
Yeah.
When disintegrate, and they're just missed for the rest of the day.
But again, that's something that's different from kid to kid, because my little brother, he plays at his school every week now, and I'm telling myself that I'm the reason he does that. But hey, but he has lost a character before, and he was just like, "Oh dang, I lost him. I'm gonna make a new one." So it's different with different kids how they handle that sort of stuff. But losing them in that weird way can be too heart-wrenching and too hard for a kid to properly handle, especially if they're very young. So having them either I present the alternative to dying when you reach 0 hit points is that the character or the enemy, instead of dying, they just run away from the encounter. So that kind of removes them, but they're not dead.
Right.
Run away!
The reason that this jumped out at me is because I have failed at this. Now, it wasn't directly my fault. I put a challenge in front of the team, and one of the players decided he didn't want to help him. So he went off on his own, and that's fine. And so the other crew, the healer, the rogue, and the arcane archer decide they're going to take on this threat on their own, and they get beat up pretty bad because I'm a douche and didn't really scale it down because one left. And so when the last guy came back, they were all beaten. They got into this encounter, and he took the brunt of the assault and nearly died. And turned and asked the healer, will you heal me? And she said, no, you ran away. Take care of yourself. And then he died. And I'm just like, oh no, I killed him. Because I didn't know the healer was going to not heal him because he ran away and didn't help. She's like, you didn't want to help us. I don't have to help you. And I'm like, oh man, I done started a war at church.
Okay. All right. And actually, both of our patrons just now just asked questions.
Oh, wonderful.
And first off, Tater asks, have you ever had a kid that you use as an influence as an NPC in your adult games?
I have not. Have you, Anne?
Yes. That's the first child character that I had in my game was said thief that was the cause of a cat being thrown through a window before. And he became a minor character throughout. And there has been other child-like characters and adolescent characters. Mostly they're used as plot points or plot contrivances. Because again, like no one who deems themselves as being a hero, if a female NPC comes running up, oh, my baby has been stolen by goblins. Like, well, that's your problem, sister. I'm not going to help you. That's not going to really happen if you portray and play your character as a hero. You're going to help with that. And it's a really quick way to really quickly raise the stakes on an encounter or an adventure is to involve kids. And I see it done all the time with child sacrifices and children being kidnapped and some such like that. It gets people involved very, very quickly, so I can totally see why people, and including myself, do it often.
Alright, and Savrat, she asks, what if you have one of the kids in the group that really wants to dig deeper than the rest of the group into the adventure, or into like the immersion of the game? How do you try to strike a balance so that one does not occupy all your attention, but you still give the whole group what they need?
It's a good question.
That is a good question. Do you want to take it, or should I just talk over you guys?
No, you can. This is your baby right now. I will touch on it after you.
You are the guest. You are the Duke.
Yes.
Duchess, actually.
I was making the quote. Thank you.
I think it is really the mark of a skilled DM to be able to give the not necessarily equal attention to all the players, but the attention that they want and or need. Because it's not everyone who wants to be center of attention all the time. Some are very, very uncomfortable with being in center of attention. But I feel what most people enjoy doing in D&D games is what you mentioned before, Justin, is that they want to have a role that they can fulfill and they can do. So if you have a child character or a player who is feeling a bit left out and who doesn't really have much to do, involve a puzzle, an encounter, something that only they can solve or they can have a major part in solving. So if the ranger, for instance, they have favorite terrain and favorite enemy, give them some clues based on that only their character would know. So that way that they are either indirectly or directly, depending on how you handle the situation, contributing to solving the issue at hand.
Nailed it.
I don't have a microphone, I can't drop it, but
Here, I'll help.
Yeah, there we go.
Mic dropped. To add off to what you said, you mentioned the puzzles in
Oh, before going for the tiers, and if one player does show deeper interest in the rest, you can set up a session for them to work on their backstory, flesh it out more.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a very good one.
I had forgot what I was gonna say. I remember now. Just kind of jumping off what you said. This is where I think skill challenges are really good, because you could do a skill challenge for that one person while you're still engaging the other people. Because you could just treat it as an initiative, and every time it comes to that person's turn, you could just have them roll a dice and give them some information based off that, and then when they come back to their turn, see what kind of give them some ideas for actions, and say next time when I come back to your turn, you can decide on here's some actions that are available to you, and then you can keep it going that way. So if you have that one person who's the lore kid who wants to go off and dig, understand why what this big giant rune on this wall means, the party can continue forward. And then if that turns out to be something of interest, say they succeed, you can say, oh, you think that this rune is tied to this piece of history. Oh, Billy Bob over here knows a lot about that. Why don't you go and ask him? And that's a way to get that person back, that child back with the party, while still letting them do their own thing, and then giving them a reason to want to come back. Because Billy Bob's gonna be like, shit, I know
My day.
I know that. I want to go find out. I think I know this. I can help with that. So that's a good way to handle that, because people, what is the term is, you don't split the party, but there's a lot of things you can do to deal with that. And yes, you're going to give that person their own little chore to do, but as long as you're keeping the story going with these people, the rest of the group, and engaging them in like a skill challenge or a puzzle on their own, everyone's getting what they want out of the game. And that's really all that matters. God, it's cold in here, isn't it?
Yep.
I turned off one of the heaters, and my nipples are like diamonds right now, man. Holy crap.
I'll turn it back on.
You want to go turn that back on?
Yeah.
Where are you in the States now, actually?
I live in Michigan. I live in the state where we can just point at our hand and say, I live here.
Yeah. I know where all the states are, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, that's awesome, because most Americans don't, so you're ahead of the game. Americans are stupid, though. So.
That's me being a spiteful little... I can't say the B word, but that's what I am when it comes to that sort of thing. Because I found a test online once that said, are you smarter than a third grader? Can you place all the states? And I can't, because I'm a Danish little girl. But I wasn't going to let that test beat me, so I spent 2 weeks memorizing all the 50 states and where they are.
That's hilarious.
Useless.
Not really, if you ever travel. Or if you watch news. You're ahead of most Americans, that's for sure. All right, so...
And the wall Trump is building is like in Kansas, right? Isn't that where
Oh my god, no, but okay. God, he's not building one on my watch. But that's a whole nother... I try not to bring politics too much into the show, unless it's a political intrigue episode where I'm okay with it. But that's because I know that there's listeners out there that will disagree with me, and a lot of people can't have an adult conversation.
I still laugh about how I turned the intrigue episode on its head and completely hijacked your encounter.
Yeah, you bastard, you suck.
To be fair, it did fit the idea of intrigue.
Yeah, whatever.
That's why I did it.
All right, so kind of moving on. I'm gonna kind of shorten down some of actually, I don't. I got pretty simple points. So, continuing on in chapter 2, you talk about We already actually, I think, you talk about, the process of actually, you get into more detail in playing with actually children. What do you think some of the, are some of the pitfalls that a DM and the players at the table should avoid when it comes to playing with a child?
Oh, that's interesting. I think maybe expecting too much of them too quickly is that expect them to just immediately have all the interests of the game and all the rules of the game figured out. Because when you're dealing with adults, they can often read the rules on their own and kind of get a feeling for that and sit there and study it by themselves and make the characters by themselves and read up on their spells by themselves. Chances are children won't do that they will only do D&D while they're playing D&D. They won't really, at least in the beginning, until they get an interest for it.
Right.
They won't take that out of you playing at the table, in my experience at least. So having that expectation of, okay, but we played last week, so you'd have plenty of time to read up on everything your wizard character does. Most likely they won't. So still be patient with them and understand that they are going to make mistakes and just learn to roll with them, pretty much.
Yeah, they're kids. They still hate homework.
Yeah.
I'm an adult and I hate homework.
I was about to say that.
Oh, man. I made some bad decisions as a kid when regards to that sort of stuff.
What do you mean as a kid?
And I guess I'm still a kid. That's why I got married. I got somebody to make all the big decisions for me.
Got a homework buddy.
So that's really cool. And I agree with 100% with everything you said. When it comes to my tables at the church when I'm playing with the kids, one of the things that I constantly challenges that I constantly run into is they're not good at remembering the rules. So that's a pitfall that I keep falling into is I keep trying to tell them this is how the rules work. This is how the rules work. You know what I finally learned after about 3 months? They don't care, so why should I? Just tell them what they want to hear. Either they succeeded or failed and move on. Because
I think that's also a point I make in the book, that if you have to sit with the book and rifle through it every single time because you have to look up what the exact wording of grappling is, then it's like you lose the attention of the table. Try not to do that, especially with kids, because attention spans like that very short.
Hey, Cody.
Yeah, you're very right. Now kind of you have so much amazing content in this book. Aside from just the guidance on playing with children and playing as a child, in chapter 3 you actually give us some character options and
Yes.
so you actually you treat it as a racial trait, right?
Yeah.
And you call it it's a child trait, right?
Yeah, it's something like that.
So first of all, how does your character option differ than somebody just playing a tiefling and saying I'm a young 9-year-old or 12-year-old tiefling?
That is exactly the thing. That is the exact thing, that people can come and say, I am playing a 9-year-old tiefling. And then, yes, you are playing a 9-year-old tiefling. And you can also come in as a dragon, as a sorcerer, and say, I'm playing an archer. Like, you can do that. But if the mechanics in the game doesn't correspond with what you have as a character, then it can kind of lessen the character and make other people forget that maybe you are a child. So, for instance, a good example is, for instance, the barbarian, because the barbarian rage mechanic is so fundamental with how the barbarian acts. It's a fundamental idea of the character itself that is around the barbarian, that they go into a rage, that they're brutal, they're primal and savage. So
children
if you have
are
some
pretty much
gameplay,
that in their defense, or
yeah.
brutal and savage are pretty much what children are.
Yeah, but if you're playing a child character and the only thing you can say to make yourself a child character is, I am a child. There's nothing gameplay-wise that solidifies that you are a child character. That lessens the character in my mind. So if you have such as just a little thing that you can do because you are a kid, or something you can't do because you're a kid, that reminds other people at the table and the world that you're playing in that you are playing an adolescent character.
Yeah, and I think you actually captured this really well. Kind of just to point out, you introduced negative and positive traits as a racial. I think that was a genius way of handling it. And for example, children are they're often little scared little buggers. So one of the negative traits, you have disadvantage on saving throws against being frightened. That is such a subtle but very character defining feature, I think. And I mean, what kind of how did you come up with that kind of idea?
That's actually based on a system that I've employed or starting to employ in my own DMing for when I make characters, or when I let my players make characters. I'm slowly working on it, where you can have like a point system where you buy positive traits, and then you can get more points by choosing negative traits, which can be like addictions, or you move slow because you're crippled, you speak slowly and have disadvantage on some checks and stuff like that, and in turn you then get some benefits that you might be moving faster, you might have advantage on checks in certain situations, you might know more, you might have more gold, you might have a pet or a horse or something like that. It came from that, so I kind of employed that into this to see how it would be received, because I'm actually working on to get it a bit more like solid before I can release it to the world. And it also just because that if you just gave one positive, if you just said scared, and then if you just said nimble, that is your child character, that might not go with how you play your child character.
Right.
And it can, since it's a template that goes on top of a racial stat, the race is still kind of the main part of the character, and this is just something extra. So I felt you should have something that accommodates what you're already playing, and you can then pick what's most appropriate for your character.
Yeah, and like I said, these are really subtle. You mentioned the nimble. You can move through a space, any creature that is one size larger than, or size is of a size larger than yours. That little things like that, by giving them the option to pick those things, not only are they making themselves a child, but you're basically saying, okay, that child is different than that child over there, going back to what you said earlier, that they're all different. And that's not something I have seen in the D&D template. So I just want to say kudos to you, because that's really cool. And I'm hoping that you're coming out with some stuff soon that's just a whole bunch of that, because I would love to read that.
I am working on it, so yeah.
Well, let's go. See, we got to get her off our show now so she can help make more of it. But I think it's really cool and was nice, a nice little touch. And then, of course, if you haven't brought us enough, you decided to make a bunch of backgrounds to this. What do you got? Is there eight backgrounds, I think?
Yeah, that sounds right.
They're backgrounds that make sense. They fit. I mean, it is the most, like, how do you want to? I don't even know where I want to go with this.
What's one of your favorite backgrounds, and what makes you come up with it?
Thank you for saving the day, Ian.
You're welcome.
I think my favorite background is probably the caregiver one. The caregiver one is all about, the idea of it was that you are a person who grew up around a lot of children, and you were probably the oldest. So you were the one who took care of the younger children, of the babies and the toddlers and some such like that. And you were around, and you were sort of an authority figure. So, and that's the thing with all these backgrounds, they can be used by children and adults alike. But that background is inspired by a character in a Danish series of novels that I read when I was a kid, who did that sort of thing, who was a young child, who had to grow up and be older than the years to look after other people. And that makes for a decent D&D character as well, because it's in the stereotype of a written work and a narrative and a role-playing game, where you of course play with stereotypes, is what you do. Then you then have an excuse to have someone who acts a bit older and a bit more maturely, but who is still a child. And I really, really like that aspect about that background.
Sure.
I really love the detail you went into this. Like with the equipment, you get like a handmade toy and a book, a worn book of stories. That is, it's the little details like that, the attention to detail that you paid, that just gives these backgrounds so much more oomph. And I could just imagine we all have those stories when the adventurers walk into town and they see the homeless child there begging for some bread or cheese or something. I could only imagine how amazing would it be that Ian, who's playing this, little 12-year-old boy, walks over, opens up a worn-out, dusty book, sits next to the kids, gives them a little bit of rest, and starts reading them a story. There's so much roleplay awesome in what you've created. I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
And the freshman then yelled towards the king, "Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries."
Okay.
That is what is in the book, but it's just that.
It's just the same story over and over.
Yeah.
He's like, there's about 10 other stories, but this is really my favorite. Then
This is really good, though. This is really good.
he tells it to the party, and then like every episode, have I told you guys my favorite story? And starts reading it like every time they go to do something.
I have a headcanon in my head that the storybook that's being carried around is Hans Christian Andersen stories, like with the Ugly Duckling, because Denmark represents. So
Free plug.
Ooh, the book has a
free
long.
blog on Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah, dinner. The book has a long lost spell or map in it that no one knows about.
Oh, see, so, damn it, Tater, giving me a million ideas. So, oh man, that should be another episode. I should do like a player tip or something on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to that because I think Tater's onto something with including the equipment and making some value out of it. I like the idea of it being like a long lost spell or something, like a homebrew spell in it. That's dope. Of course.
They were given it by a parental figure, something like, protect this, keep this safe, and that's why they've kept it safe when they don't really know the importance of it yet.
Yeah, or it turns out like it's a one-time use True Resurrection scroll in the back or something, something dope-ass like that. Yeah, you know that...
They're just going, this little piggy went to market, and this little piggy...
or it's like a fireball. It says I'll huff and puff and blow your house down. His house just exploded.
Whoa!
Would it be Thunderwave?
It is the wizard spellbook.
It's a wizard.
Stories.
All the magical spells are like children's stories. That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Awesome.
Yes. All right. So now that I'm done ranting and raving, you have such an awesome collection. Like I said, there's 8 different stories in here. You give backgrounds. You give them a really great features. You give them the bonds, the flaws, and the ideals. You even give suggested characteristics. That just shows at what length you went to really flesh these out. So, well done.
I squealed all the way home. Dang it, Tater!
Oh, that's funny. And then of course once again you're not done yet. You have one more chapter in this book that really jumps out, and I've never seen anything like it. Not exactly something that I've ever considered. Do you want to talk?
I don't understand that.
Do you want to tell us about chapter 4, having children in D&D?
Yeah, because that is a facet of reality that isn't really represented in most role-playing games, is having kids.
Nope.
And most of the time, it's if you have characters that then they can have children, but it's just like kind of glossed over, not really handled in any real way. And I started kind of thinking about what that would be like in terms of 5th edition, because there are other systems, like Pathfinder, I believe, has a pregnancy system. In that system, it's a disease, which I don't really know, like,
It's a
which actually makes it a bit like weird, because that means paladins who are immune to disease can't get pregnant. Hey, so, but hey.
That's funny.
But I wanted to kind of make something that accurately portrayed the hardships of having kids, also by reflecting it, instead of you just saying, I am pregnant, or this person is pregnant, there would be active gameplay mechanics tied to that aspect of playing a character like that. So as you grow, this is of course like if you're female, you become pregnant, the further along you go in being pregnant, you will start to have some beneficial traits and some negative traits that just accommodates how you move around, because you can't move around as quickly as before. If you're in the 3rd trimester, for instance, if you're not prone, it takes your full movement to get back up, because you're just like, oh no, because you can't stand up as fast.
Adventuring pregnant woman.
I'll keep the tray. I just thought in my head to myself.
I can envision. I think that would be really cool. I can envision playing a pregnant character. Playing a pregnant character who's a wizard. Because if you got like a super like weak constitution roll or a super low strength, that would be a great reason to be pregnant. Just like, I'm pregnant, that's why I'm weak and can't do nothing. But I can still blow your ass up blow you up if you talk crap.
Is mood swings a trait?
I don't know. Is mood swings a trait? I know craving is.
Mood swings are not a trait, no.
I do love the cravings chart, by the way. Like pickles, honey, sugared foods. I mean, Very genius.
Because I don't think mood swings would give him a free barbarian rage.
Free barbarian rage.
I say that because I've worked with Project Movement in the past, and oh my gosh.
Okay, don't cause all of our women listeners to run away, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
We're
just
all
saying.
very offended.
People are offended easily these days. You even have it down to morning sickness. I mean, you have a 20% chance to
You're
feel
reacting in
nauseated.
the exact way I was hoping you would be like, oh my god, look at all this awesome stuff. Because these cool little things. That
and
I
I-
wanted to- yeah.
There's one thing that I value that I think this adds. That's something that we always are looking for a good out. Some players get tired of playing a character. You could easily have that character gradually become pregnant during an adventure, and who knows what happened? Whether they went to a is there male brothels? Is that a thing, or is it just any guy in a bar?
Definitely.
I don't see why not.
Fantasy, everything is possible.
And your character, your player is getting tired of playing the character. You could maybe during one of the last adventure strings start showing signs of pregnancy, and they go off and start their own family, and this could be a good mechanical way to gradually lead them out. I think it would just be hilarious if anybody picked up on the fact that every time they wake up they got to roll to see and they start getting sick, and I don't know that a guy would pick up on that, but I definitely feel like another female player at the table would.
Taylor,
100% immediately.
Taylor wants to know if there's deep fried Oreos in D&D worlds.
There is now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So you've put a lot of amazing content in this book. And I mentioned, you weren't finished with chapter 4 or with chapter 3, and we went on to 4. You actually have a 5th chapter that's all about toys and trinkets. And,
Yeah.
and once again, there is just so much content stuffed into this supplement that really just knocked my socks off. And we actually, I have one of the magic item of the podcast is actually my favorite item from this toys and trinkets called the safety blanket. So I'm excited to talk about that. Did you have any challenges developing the magic items and the trinkets and stuff for your supplement, Little Heroes?
Not the magic items, no. I have a lot of experience with making magic items. I don't think I've ever used a magic item in the official books. I always make them myself because I get an idea and then I can't wait to implement it. So it's like, okay, they need this +1 sword, but I have this thing that I've made and I want them to test it out. So like, go my little pretties, play with my... I'm not allowed to play, so you must do it for me. That sort of thing.
Before we got really, so I think you've done an amazing job. I think there's just one more thing we want to ask you before we finish out our main topic.
When you made Little Heroes, it sounds like you put quite a bit of work into this. What would you say your favorite part of the entire experience was?
The research, definitely.
Really?
Because that's the kind of a thing, because I'm, as I said before, I'm a student, and research is a lot of what goes into what I do at my university, that I have to credit everything that I say coming back to different articles, different studies, stuff like that. And I could just sit down and talk about my own experiences with this, but the product wouldn't be half as good if I did that. It's way more informative both to me when I started researching this and started putting down notes for myself, and for everyone else if I can base it on something that someone way smarter than me and with way more experience than me put together. That actually this has been proven that this is practical in this way and that children react this way and people do this and people do that. And discovering all of that was really eye-opening for me, and I loved doing it. So that's definitely, oddly enough, one of my favorite things about this piece is that I was actually able to research as much and found that much good information about it.
Yeah, for sure. Your bibliography is quite extensive for the content in the book, so yeah. I definitely think you did a phenomenal job. And this is something that I've learned a lot about, because while I run for kids, there's a lot of things that I've just kind of had to wing it. And you really have given me like a good focus on things that I need to focus and make more important than others. And it's overall, it is an amazing product, which is probably why it's a gold 5-star bestseller on DM's Guild.
Yeah, it's still a bit unreal to me, honestly. It's like, but I'm just sitting here. I'm not
If you guys listening to this podcast once again want to check it out, there is a link in our show notes, and then when it goes live, there'll be a link on our website at criticacademy.com directly to our product, so you can pick up your own copy. I was wondering, I actually think I chose to make that the last question. I have more questions on here, and I'm just deciding which ones I want to go with. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Before we close out our main topic, you actually have a special gift to Crit Nation.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay,
Well,
I was gonna say I guess I'll take the lead, but I was gonna lead.
You'll take the lead. I don't really know how to phrase this probably. So.
You've offered a special giveaway of your amazing product, your gold level product, to a special listener. So I have picked the listener randomly, and Anne, do you want to tell us who the winner of your amazing product is?
Our winner is Sheen RLO119.
Do you want to read the one that says special giveaway compliments of Anne Gregersen?
The one before that.
Yes, because I'm blind. Then the actual winner is Johnson Arn. Yes.
Johnson Arn, you win the free prize.
All right, and I'll add some fancy music in here. We're about to play another music, so I don't need to do it twice. Wonderful. So I think that'll. So congratulations to Johnson Arn.
Johnson Arn.
Johnson Arn. Yeah, Johnson Arn. Okay.
Popcorn that.
Congratulations to Johnson Arn. You are the winner of the special giveaway compliments of Anne. Thank you so much, Anne, for giving Crit Nation an opportunity to get a freebie look at your product. Once again, everyone, please make sure you check out this product. It's amazing.
And for the giveaway, we are humbled by your generosity.
Aw, that was nice. You should write that down so I can steal that later. No? Okay. All right.
I'll say we just recorded. So
that'll do it for our main topic today. Before we move on to our final segment, our Unearthed tips and tricks, we have one more gift to give away. Compliments of Loresmith. Ian, who's our winner today?
Our winner today is Sheen RL0119.
Such a surprise.
God, we're dorks.
I know you are, but what
That's
am I?
surprising.
Hey, we're doing a kids episode. That's inappropriate to say.
Yeah, true. Anyways, congratulations to Shinar 10119. If you enjoy the product, please leave Loresmith a review. Let him know what you like, what you didn't like, and help him improve his product moving forward. Now, moving on to our favorite segment of the show, now moving on to our Crit Nation's favorite segment of the show, our Unearthed tips and tricks, where we give you new and creative content for you to bring with you on our next adventure. Our first UTT is our character concept. This actually is right from the Little Hero, is one of the backgrounds in Little Heroes, but I think it can be applied to any scenario. It's called the Messenger. First of all, I mentioned earlier how I love the detail of your character concepts, or your backgrounds. This was one that really jumped out for me because I feel like you could get a lot of roleplay out of it. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the Messenger character concept, Anne?
Sure. The Messenger is all about, a character who runs either from area to area in a city or perhaps between smaller city, little townships and stuff, delivering messages to different people or for different people. And the way this works is that they can get into places where other people maybe aren't allowed because of their status, as they have something important they have to say, or they have a reason to be in this area even though normally they wouldn't, because they might be employed by someone who's powerful or very influential.
Yeah, the one thing that really that jumped out at me, as a child, they likely probably can't read well. So this is a good way to have nobles sending, secret messages without the risk of somebody viewing it, but that's not supposed to. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. This, as like, if you were to take this concept as an adult, to me, it's great because it gives a good, solid reason for traveling. First of all, right? Because you're as an adventurer, you're the goal is to travel a lot of places. Well, if you're going to Waterdeep, you might as well take something somebody else wants with you, right? And sorry, I thought I was gonna burp there, and then the bastard didn't want to come. No, anyway, you're already traveling as an adventurer, so how much extra work is it to lug a parcel around, or for a small fee, of course. But what else? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's just, of course, I was confirming what you were saying.
Yeah. And with that, I think comes a lot of roleplay opportunity, because if you do take this messenger, character concept and are delivering stuff, it is your responsibility to make sure that it gets from point A to point B. So you constantly have to make sure you're bringing this thing along. You have to make sure it doesn't get damaged, it doesn't get lost or stolen. And as a DM, I would love to be able to utilize that as like a character hook, especially when players decide to do stuff that I'm not prepared for. I was like, oh, you just realized your parcel's missing. I can always have that like set aside as kind of an extra encounter in case the players kind of go off the rails. I'd sit that, oh, he's got a stolen package and now you got to track it down, and that gives me time to make up this other stuff that you didn't know didn't exist.
Yep, you can utilize the urgent parcel service.
The urgent parcel service, nice.
And Pop Hornet says his nephews would feel familiar with the messenger because they love doing the little errands around the house.
Well, and I think what's cool about this is it could be a good supplement for the communication style features, like the noble. You always know, like, you have like an important contact, or the criminal underground, you have an underground contact. Those things are really good, and you could easily tie a character concept of it being a messenger, and that's why you have all these different and important contacts.
Yeah, I was about to say that, because if you are a messenger, especially if you're an adult one who's been doing it for a long time, that's also something with all these backgrounds that could be used by both kids and adult characters.
Mm-hmm.
Is that people know you in the township, so when you come in with a message, they know, oh, they come from Waterdeep or some other big city. They have the news, so probably that you're going to get flocked by a lot of people in the cities, the small townships and villages, who wants to hear the latest gossip. So that could be an opportunity for the group to kind of have an in with people who might not normally talk to strangers.
Hear ye.
I've got a message for the Miss Grand Duchess of York. That's actually probably a thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
That is definitely a thing.
my bad. I was trying to be fantasy, but I'm pretty sure I pulled that from somewhere else. Anyways,
you mean England?
That other place is England?
Well, You sure it's not the Duchess of New York? Isn't that the person that's standing with the big green dress in the water?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Grand Duchess of New York? No? Okay. All right, anyways, I think this was
she's French.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, she is French. It was a very lovely gift. I mean, they've really given us a lot if you think about it.
Uh-huh.
The French have given us French kisses.
Baguettes.
They've given us baguettes. They've given us our Statue of Liberty. But most importantly, they've given us French's mustard. And that shit's awesome.
I was gonna go with cheese, but okay.
Anyways, so that'll do it for our character concept, the messenger. I love this idea. Like I said, you've got a whole actual official background in your little heroes, which is filled out with all the different proficiencies and stuff that you could get if you wanted to make that your background. It doesn't have to be just a background. It can be a realized version of why your character does these other different things, as we discussed.
Tell you what's disappointed, we did that mention fries.
Aren't they called American fries?
French fries.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought we changed that because we were mad at them for something.
They're French. We're always mad at them.
Yeah. I do remember I was watching a thing on TV where it says the French's company came out and said the only thing we have in because they were doing the American French
Freedom
fries.
fries.
Yeah, he goes. The CEO or somebody said, you know what? The only thing French's mustard and the French have in common is we're both yellow. And I'll never forget that. I was a little kid. I didn't know any better, but it made me giggle for like a month. My dad's like, "You're an idiot." I was like, "Whatever. I'm gonna coat my arteries with a healthy collection of freedom fries." All right. Anyways, so moving on. After I have to edit all that stuff. Sorry, future Justin. Do you want to take the monster variant, or do you want me?
Our monster variant of the podcast is the twins, Lynn and Finn, and the origin is what is it? The Mannies?
I have no idea, but Manny sounds hilarious. I think it's Mains, but I don't know.
Mains?
It's a demon.
Two monsters. These little demons are almost indistinguishable from a small child. They have mastered the skills needed to lead many victims to their deaths. The new feature they gain is Pack Tactics, and it is a kobold-like feature that gives them advantage on attack rolls against a creature if at least one of the twins is within 5 feet of the creature and the ally is not incapacitated.
I forgot to take out Kobold.
Yep.
Change the name.
Nice save though. Like, it's a kobold-like feature.
Yep.
That's why he's my wingman. Oh my god.
And they also gain Assassinate. The twins are at their deadliest when they get the drop on their enemies. They have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that has not taken a turn in combat yet. In addition, any hit the twins score against a creature that is a surprise is a critical hit. You know what?
No,
this
tell me
basically
what.
happened in the latest episode of Sword Art Online. I won't ruin it.
Yeah, I watched it this morning. And anybody that was looking at the show notes noticed there wasn't any monster there till this morning.
Ow!
No, it was last night. It was
So
yeah.
Okay.
I literally
Okay.
Well, I had an idea already. And because of the whole child thing, I knew I wanted to be child, and then I watched. I was like, I'm going with that. Anyways,
Actually, the demon child made me think of like a meme I saw online 2 days ago, where a guy goes to a well. I wish I had a way from the television. Then the girl from the ring crawls out the well.
Oh hell no! Don't even talk about it. But, man, that shit scared me. That stuff scared me when I went and seen it. Like a little girl, man, or a little just boy who wet himself. How's that? Anne, what do you think about this monster variant?
I think it's a good way to go about it. I always like when the monsters seem to have an agenda, even if that is just killing you quickly and annoyingly. I like when they have something that really solidifies them as being, that gives them something unique. And when I make stat blocks for monsters and stuff like that, when I make monsters, I don't like to just take features that are already existing on other monsters and slap them on a new block type thing. I want to give them something that is totally unique to them, so that when the players encounter them and go, oh, that is annoying. Why?
Yeah, I'm a specifically for a show. I'm a big fan of taking existing mechanics and moving them around. Mostly player mechanics, honestly. But what?
Okay, Cody's like, dude, not the ring girl. That's serious business. Well, Teddy's like, I hope the girls from The Shining.
Anyways,
Play with that, Stanley.
please
Play
don't.
with that, Stanley.
No, please stop. I like this idea because kids often aren't suspected of being, the murderous type. And it's a good opportunity to get an enemy close to the party in an unsuspecting way. Now, it'll only work once, because then they're never going to trust a little child ever again. But having a demon that looks like a child can really allow for you to weaken a party before they go into combat. In this one, these are really weak monsters. I think they're like a CR 1/8. They're not very strong, but if they run into this in the middle of the villain's lair or the villain's castle, or better yet, players like to assassinate people all the time. Maybe they're being sent to assassinate this duke, and this demon is hired to protect him, but pretends to be its kids. And the heroes aren't going to think twice about the little girls wandering around their own house, And as they engage the boss, having them just sneak up and flank and stab the players as a surprise. I almost said more bad words. And catching them off guard, I think is a a powerful tool, especially when they had an opportunity to do something about them and didn't, because they thought that they weren't a threat. And that's really kind of what I was going for here, is that they don't appear like a threat, but if you don't do anything about them, they come back and bite you in the ass. I'll tell you, something like this happened to me once before. I chose not to kill, I didn't choose, somebody made me not kill some orcs that attacked us because I put them to sleep. And the bastards show up in the next encounter halfway through when we're bleeding and...
Stabs you in the back.
Yeah, threw javelin in my back. Yeah, it was not fun, but and that's kind of what I envision going with these guys.
Don't you do it like
Never show mercy. Never. Never show mercy.
Yeah, well, I was forced to, because I was lawful good. I was told that my character would not kill them because they're unconscious, and I'm just like, they just tried to kill me, and the only reason they're asleep is because I put them that way.
That's always that. Your character wouldn't do this, wouldn't he? I'll just let you know otherwise.
Okay. First off, it's my character, not yours. Don't you tell me what my character can and cannot do.
Yeah, and you remember I was probably how frustrated I was when that happened.
Yep.
So
That actually reminds me of one time when I was playing a 4th edition game where I was running a Dragonborn Paladin, and we captured some, gallows or something. And, we need to, get some information. I'm like, okay, time to torture them. And now the players look at me and shout, but you're the lawful good Paladin, who's former Inquisition. Let's move along here.
So Cody says, I'll remember to tie up all women and children now. Thanks, Justin. Like I said, it'll only work once, but if you time it just right, oh man, it'll be glorious, I promise. That'll do it for our monster variant, the twins. Now, you use the stat block twice. You don't use the one and count them as two people. I feel like sometimes I gotta explain some things to people. Our encounter of the podcast is the Ghost Girl, and Anne, you actually are gonna take the lead on this. This is an encounter you've run before.
Yes, I have. It's an encounter that's meant to take place when you're moving from location to location. So it's when you're traveling, so you can have a random encounter occur there, where the travelers or the adventurers will see a young child or a young girl or something sitting near the roadside crying, really crying her eyes out. And when they then approach, or when she sees them, she will look up and scream in terror and run into the forest. Pretty much telling the players to follow her, because it's that's a child in distress. And when the players then follow the girl, she will turn on them because she's actually a ghost and will try to kill them. I think a really important part of that encounter is exactly that the girl runs away screaming and looks scared. Because if she was standing very shining play with me in the forest, not a single adventurer, everyone would be like, nope.
I've done seen this stuff before.
Nope. You are a little demon child, and I will not follow you.
Kind of Children of the Corn type stuff.
Exactly.
And I think this is a good opportunity for the DM to really try to pull at the heartstrings of the players, because not just the running into the forest, but you could have her crying and tripping and stumbling and getting her beautiful white dress all dirty and filthy, and then her looking down and she's starting to shake and she cries and she's trying to dust it off as she's running, and when you really get yourself emotionally involved in something like that, the players will care. And whether it's they find out she's bad and they possess, oh man, if one player went after, and the ghost can do possessions, right?
Yeah.
What if it possesses one and now you got a turncoat in the middle of the party? Oh man, that's deep.
Maybe that's her intention all along.
Yeah, maybe it isn't just
to have a new body.
Yeah, not to just kill, but to take over the body of others. Maybe that's why she was there when the adventurers first saw her. She was trying to take over somebody and decided, oh, that's a better option. That guy's strong.
It also gives some narrative points that you can kind of pull out there, because if they're traveling from one place to another, the place they're coming from, they could then have heard a rumor, perhaps. It's either some way that some people are getting lost on the road and they're not really getting to their final location, they just disappear, or maybe a girl went out into the woods, she didn't come back and her mother's distraught and stuff like that. So you can have a little mini arc of a story involved.
Yeah. As well. And it's cool if you set those rumors ahead of time, because they're less likely to be suspicious about the little girl running around if they got word that somebody's child has disappeared and you give them that description, Yeah. Because then what if... So what if the child you find is actually possessed by a ghost and the child itself isn't the threat?
Taylor, maybe they can only possess a child form, but they're actually hundreds of years old.
Yes.
Smart kids. I'm not a fan of that. That's why I'm American. Not a lot of smart kids.
This is making me think of
That's horrible. I shouldn't say that.
This is making me think of the movie Paranorman, but I won't give away the plot twist.
Yeah, please don't. I think this is a great encounter idea. It's something simple. It can be tossed into any scenario, and it's just a good way to I keep wanting to plant like a doppelganger in the middle of the group, but pulling it's a good short encounter, very spooky type theme going on, and it's easy to branch this into a larger story. Does the ghost have a goal besides just killing people? Is she looking for a new body, or is she targeting certain people who look like somebody that had taken her life? Or you can really expand on this to any degree that you want, and that's why I really enjoy it. I think that'll do it for our encounter podcast. What? Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
That'll do it for
I speak Justin, it's fine.
I'm glad somebody here does. I told you I only speak bad English and apparently bad Justin. That'll do it for our encounter of the podcast, The Ghost Girl. Compliments of Anne. Thank you. Our magic item of the podcast also comes from Little Heroes.
The safety blanket.
Blocking all of my stuff.
When you take damage from an area of effect spell, such as Fireball, you can use your reaction to pull this blanket around you. Doing so protects you from the effects of the spell negating all damage. Once you have used the blanket in this way, you can't do so again till next dawn. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mentioned your Chapter 5 having magic items and trinkets and stuff. This is genius. I don't know how you came up with this, but pure genius. Everyone has had a favorite blankie, right? I had one.
Yep.
And if I had this in D&D, I would totally be wearing that shit as a cape during the day.
Okay, Linus.
Yeah.
Who?
Linus.
Like Lion-O?
No, from Peanuts.
I don't like peanuts. I like walnuts.
Snoopy.
Charlie Brown. I gotcha. I'm an idiot. Just ignore what I just said. Anyways, I love the idea of this. It's such a subtle magic item that could you imagine a young child carrying this and gets caught in like a fire attack, in this case fireball, and everyone freaks out thinking she's about to become a brisket, and she just walks out like Superman with this blanket wrapped around her, How did you even come up with this?
I was thinking about all the magic items. There aren't a lot in that section. It's just 3, I believe. But I was thinking in regards to what magic item could a child character have inherited? Like what could go well along with someone who is adolescent and who needs protection? And a safety blanket just came to me like, a safety blanket is something a child has. Oh my god, yes. This is what's gonna happen.
And
the other one in the book is a bear squeezing, which does a similar thing where you have a teddy bear that you're gonna go squeeze, and then it has an effect. I love
that one. What I thought was cool about this, because it's a blanket, there's a lot of flavor you can add to it. You can easily give this blanket like a symbol of a deity etched onto it, like the symbol of Helm or Bahamut or something that gives any like arcane or divine person an idea that there might be something a little more to it, but then not actually know that there's something mystical about it until that one moment when it makes the difference. This comes back to, I was talking about your background items earlier. To me, I don't give out very many magical items, but I can totally see me giving a young player this as their child and then not telling them it's magical until that moment where they discover that the blankie that's been part of their background is now an item that actually has mechanical value and does protect them, and using that as a story element to generate a magical item for my players. And I think your Little Heroes does that really, really well, and this fits with it perfectly. God, I wish I had my blankie.
It is cool out here.
I used to have one. My grandma hand stitched me or crocheted me a blanket when I was like 8, and I had that thing for like 8 or 9 years. Yes, I was in high school, and it was still in my bed. Thank you very much.
Actually, it made me think of like the picture on the of like when your grandma like this a knit, but it's awesome, and it shows a kid wearing a costume of the Predator.
Yeah,
And it was crocheted.
I saw that. That's funny. Crocheted Predator. Nothing is cuter.
Yeah.
Can I take 30 seconds real quick because something in my kitchen is making a noise?
Hopefully it's not a murderer. Go ahead.
I hope not.
Yeah. And of course you're like, it's a child predator. Wait.
Child Predator. I didn't put that together. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And Taylor's somewhere going, shame on you, Justin! How dare you know about Looney Tunes but don't get Charlie Brown?
I honestly, I've never watched Peanuts, or at least to the point where I know what it's about. All I know is Charlie Brown is a bald kid with a dog that has a tiny little bird.
And yes, Linus is also a bard.
Ugh.
Going by the Christmas special, the argument could be made. And then Taylor also says there's a child ghost in her kitchen.
Oh no! I hope she's okay. It's like 2 a.m. for her right now.
Oh yeah.
Almost 3 a.m.
Popcorn's like, the bear squeezing is so cute! You need to make a variant that casts light instead. Great. Nothing about the teddy bear from Akagami no Kill. Go.
Which one is that? Oh, that's the one with all the assassin groups.
Yep.
You made it back. We're glad you're okay.
Not a murderer, just something else.
I know it's like 3 a.m. there right now, and I'm just like, oh shit. If like some shit goes down on screen, I don't know who to call. Like, so I just call up, hey, England. This lady.
She's in Denmark.
Denmark, sorry.
Completely different.
See, you'd be really screwed then, because I'd be calling the wrong people.
Well, I'm taking that as a compliment because I'm actually worrying that my English wasn't going to be good enough, but it's quite good, okay?
Oh, your English is better than mine.
That's not a high bar.
Oh, god damn it, dude. That'll do it for our magic item of the podcast, the safety blanket from the Little Heroes. Our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast is keep children safe. It's as we've worked our way through Little Heroes, be aware that not everyone in the group is going to be okay witnessing the death and harm of a child.
Unless it's like girl from the ring.
Unless it's the girl from the ring, I suppose. In most cases, it doesn't matter if it's going to be an NPC or if it's going to be a PC. Having a child present is going to create a different feeling among your players if you haven't talked about it already. When you do your session 0 or you're planning on doing something like this, make sure you understand the type of group that you have. It is very easy to... I don't want to say offend, that's not really the word. To go over the line when it comes to including children in your adventures. I've done it where I've had to have my players make a decision about killing an innocent child if they don't succeed at determining that it's being manipulated by something. That's not something I put a lot of forethought into about whether that was going to affect the person who had a child sitting next to me. That's because I'm a shitty person. I'm a terrible person. We
all make mistakes. I think everyone just makes, but having that thought of it can just do a lot to help you along with that.
And
that's what you did there, Taylor. Player tip is, don't be a child. Grow up.
Oh, yeah, I guess we can't say don't be a dick, can we?
Sure we can.
Don't be a penis.
Don't be a penis?
Yeah.
Mommy, what's a penis? You don't even know about that. What's a dick? You don't even know about that yet. Damn it, you got me off track. Where was I at? If you're planning on including children in your world where you're going to put them in danger, you're going to use them as bait, is what I call it. Put them under duress. Make sure you understand the limits your crew is willing to go through, and what they're willing to endure. make sure you take their feelings into consideration, especially if they're a parent. I'm not a parent, so I don't think about that stuff. To me, it's just a bait to get the players to do good, which is sad. I shouldn't have to bait them to be good.
Great. Another thing about one time in 4th edition where a party had to escort children, and we were stuck in harsh hazardous conditions.
Oh no!
And we were some like blizzards, caves, all that jazz. And we were bringing low on provisions. And when the player's like, "Well, we don't have enough food for everyone. Kill some kids at random."
Oh no!
And my barbarian is like, "Don't kill the kids at random. Kill small ones. They're weak as adults."
Oh my god! See, that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about.
Right.
Some people might be okay with that. Other people may not. Right?
Totally.
And when you gotta eat, you have to decide. Somebody's got to go first. Okay, I'll have to cut that out, Justin. That's a little harsh.
If I can go back real quick on top of that, actually, going back to that chapter 4 thing about having kids, is that if you want to have a pregnant character, you as a DM, don't do that as a surprise or prank on your players, because that is a major dick move. And I do not condone that sort of behavior.
That's funny.
That's something you discuss with your players before it.
I think you mentioned in the book, as a rule of thumb, try to keep the gory details to a minimum when it comes to children.
Yes.
Because I talk a big game, but it would make my heart wrench if somebody started describing, a child on a rack as they're gradually being pulled apart and, limbs being ripped as they're that would bug me as a player.
Exactly.
Probably not much as a DM, because I wouldn't put that much forethought into it until it got to that very moment, because I don't write that stuff out. It's just like, oh, kid being tortured. Okay, whatever. But just make sure your group can handle whatever it is you're going to throw at them, because it can have an impact on them mentally and can affect your table. And the last thing you want to do is do anything that would upset the balance of your perfectly run, no mistake, no error table that undoubtedly you run.
Exactly. I run to a T. We have a schedule. We meet every Wednesday prior to playing to set the rules and the designs down to the minute it is planned what will happen. Nothing ever goes wrong.
That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast. Keep children safe.
Pop Hornet says, "I remember discovering the ice elemental, and my littlest nephew got scared, so I made him into an ice cream golem."
That's
Yay.
genius. That's the kind of stuff that we as DMs need to be aware of.
And let's face it, it is easy to forget that younger kids can get scared. Because, for Pete's sakes, I used to be afraid of the abominable snowman as a child. From Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
The thing was terrifying.
When you were a kid, yeah.
Well, when I watched Star Wars and the thing was trying to eat...
Oh, the Rancor?
Luke? No, the Yeti thing. He chopped off its arm?
Well, that too. But, the Wampa. But, actually, the Rancor as a kid is what scared me.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty terrifying. No, the snowman thingy that was... Anyway,
the Wampa.
We're derailing, and it's getting late, and I'm tired, and I gotta work in the morning. And Anne is still up, and it's like 3 a.m. where she's at, so...
I work in less than 3 hours.
So the way we do it is we say our player tip is don't be a dick. Do we want to continue with that?
Yes.
Okay. So what's gonna happen?
I think it's important to learn that at all ages. Is don't be a dick.
So we're gonna say it, and then I'll have you say it. Because of the time loop, we can't get it synced, so I'll just sync them in post.
Yes.
So our player tip of the podcast is
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by being a small adult. And you have talked a lot in your book about not just saying you're a child, but actually playing it to its core. In this case, not just tossing together a bunch of statistics, but instead going through the...
Oh, man.
I totally lost my train of thought in the middle of what I was reading.
Go ahead.
What makes playing a child so... If you're going to play a child, and I would love to hear Anne's thoughts on this as well. Kids if you got a dump stat, being a child can help with that. Children mostly aren't smart, so if you're going to run as a child, you have to act as a child. Your character is going to be gonna have charisma when it comes to enchanting adults with their words, but they're not gonna be the smartest. They're not gonna make the most rational decisions. Emotion is gonna drive their responses more than anything else. Kids are often considered extremely curious and gullible. And if you're planning on playing a child or a young character, make sure these features are exaggerated to the point that they become, powerful flaws that define your character as, will you stop giggling while I'm talking?
Now, this tip made me think of an experience.
Well, you can share your
I will.
experience in a moment. Because of their young age, you want to exaggerate those until they become flaws, because that's what's going to make everyone at the table believe that you are in fact a child, not just saying, "Okay, I'm a child barbarian. I'm gonna rage. I'm gonna swing my butcher's knife because I can't actually lift a big axe."
I can see that player in front of me right up. I'm gonna rage, I'm gonna hit him with my battle axe. Okay, it's gonna hit you, but I'm a child. He wouldn't hit a child now, would he? Like, oh, you.
Those are the things that you have to take into account, and you want to. Children can be clever, right? They have an out of the box experience, but if you're playing a child, you should not be the go-to for solving puzzles most of the time. I don't know if you have any points on this, Anne.
I do. I of course points and everything. There's actually a section in the background section where you can have all the flaws and bonds and traits and stuff like that. That's just specifically childlike. Then we get a lot of you get a lot of inspiration from that by reading through them and seeing, okay, I can take that and then exaggerate it to a point that I can be kind of defining as a child character. And it is about that. When you're playing a role-playing game, you are not being an actor. You're being a character. It's not your responsibility necessarily in an RPG to portray a character correctly. It's your responsibility perhaps to portray a stereotype correctly. So if you are presenting a child stereotype and people believe in that stereotype, then you've done a good job, because people believe that you are a child. They might not think that you are a great actor, but that's that no one. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Who cares about being an actor? It's not really about anything like that.
Okay, the reason why I was cracking you up is because our party one time got stuck inside a giant's fortress because we were trying to infiltrate our way through it. Mm-hmm. And my character was a changeling. And as we were about to be discovered, I asked the DM, quick question, DM, how tall are giant children? About human adult size? Why? I judged the shape of a giant child. They open the door. I'm a blanket man! As I'm under a blanket and just like, who let the kid out?
That's clever. That's fast thinking right there.
And then I ran around the fortress just acting like a nut the entire time too. I'm a flying blanket man!
So you can just totally distract the entire enemy fortress just by running around acting like a giant child.
Yep.
Literally.
Yep.
Oh my god.
That distract you if a giant baby went through a door and was like, I'm a blanket man!
It would definitely be distracting.
And all the giant girls around like, no, we have to put the kid back in his room!
They're all chasing him around. Fee, fi, fo, fum.
Or another time where we got same fortress. We found me and another one of the PCs together. Me once again, into the giant child. Hey look, I'm only human! Let's change the kitchen to the ground this bones and make it our bread! Kid, we don't do that, kid! Why do you keep saying that?
That's funny.
You're listening to humans too much!
One of the things that really jumped out about me about playing a child, and I kind of touched on it briefly, is everyone, if you roll your stats and you get really low stats, and you want to make intelligence or wisdom your dumb stat, that's a good opportunity to play a kid, in my opinion. Because it's going to fit perfectly. Because everyone struggles to play low intelligent and low wisdom type characters, and it's really easy just to mimic a child. So I think that would be good cover for it. So,
are we there yet?
Oh god damn! The entire adventure? We're not there yet. We have 300 miles to go. I will tell you when we're there.
Okay. Are we there yet?
We have 300 miles to go. I'll tell you when we get there.
That's awesome. That's great.
I was waiting for him to say it again.
Are we there yet?
No.
All right.
No. Stop it, Ian.
I'm just asking why to everything. Why?
There's the rogue sneaks up alongside you, peering out of the shadows.
What you doing?
My friends,
Why?
there's a trap ahead.
Why?
Because somebody placed it there.
Why?
Probably to protect the treasures.
Why?
Why?
Damn it, I don't know. Who cares why? It's fucking there. It's like, damn it, it's there. Oh my gosh. Got tears in my eyes.
Worst character's like, oh, I hate you. No,
Oh, that shit would that would get old really quick. Why? Why?
Great. Nothing about the Terminator. What? You can't kill people. Why? Because it's bad. Why?
Very much.
Silence on the child.
All right. I think that'll do it for our player tip of the podcast.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by not being a small adult.
Being a small adult.
Damn, that is a wrong title. I'm gonna change that.
Good call.
You can avoid dickitude by playing as a child. They're so innocent and cute with their little magical blankies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I
Although-
want to play a child now.
Although for some players, then it might be too far removed.
I do have the personality of a 5-year-old. Mommy, I just want to eat. Can I? Oh man, a kid, like a barbarian kid that just wants to eat everything. Can I eat it?
Look, a squirrel. Can I eat it? No,
Why not?
because we gotta catch it.
Hey, look, there's a giant turtle. That's a mountain. It looks like a turtle, and I like turtle soup. Can I eat it? Anyways, that'll do it for our show today. Before we close out, we have one more gift to give away. Compliments of our sponsor, Jeff Stevens.
Woohoo!
And who's our winner today?
Our winner is Art Brand.
Sounds like a cereal.
What?
Sounds like a cereal.
Sorry, that's just a marker for me to know where those are all at so I can find them really quickly. Congratulations, Art Brand. That does sound like a cereal.
Sorry, Art.
We hope you enjoy the adventure. If you do, please head on over to DM's Guild and leave Jeff a review. Let him know what you like about the product and help him improve it moving forward. Well, that'll do it for our show today. Please join us on our next episode where we get to hear feedback from you, our heroes. We will be discussing the Malady Codex, a supplement written by medical students to bring a plethora of diseases to the world. Oh my gosh, I love this book.
That was fun.
My favorite thing, anybody that listens to our show knows I love poisoning my players. I love diseases. It is my favorite thing because, oh, you went to scavenge for food and you rolled a 3? It's poisonous.
Wait a second. I just realized something. That one melody was basically a chest burster. From Alien.
How did we miss that?
I know!
Oh, yeah, sorry. We already recorded that episode because I had to schedule yours. And anyways, it's a really great product.
Jason is awesome. I've talked to him slightly.
Oh, nice.
Who, the guy that made it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. How
Very
do you
nice.
say their names?
What?
Because I couldn't figure it out.
He's Greek, right? Isn't he Greek?
I don't know. It didn't say that in the book.
It just says Jason. Like, what is all about that?
No, the other guy's name.
Oh yeah, he had a very long last name. I can't remember.
Yeah, the second guy's name, I couldn't pronounce it.
I think they're Greek, both of them.
Yeah, well, that explains it. I can barely speak American names. There's no way I'm gonna, how many years it took me of practicing to say Nahasapita Petalon, and that was in my favorite show. It's the only Indian name I can pronounce because it's in Simpsons. Wow, that's really bad.
Wow.
Future Justin, don't be a dick.
Good.
If you have any feedback, oh, actually, do you want to take that?
If you have any feedback, unearthed tips and tricks, or topics you'd like to discuss, please send them our way. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy.
You can also give us a like and that's later. We hope you enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy, and we want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We hope you had as much fun as we did having you on.
I definitely did. This was actually really, really fun. Despite it so late, I'm glad I stayed up.
Well, we're very glad that you stayed up extra late just to hang out with us goofballs. We're glad that you had a good time, because that would have been really horrible for you to be like, God, I stayed up to like 3 a.m. for those bastards, and it was boring as hell.
And Tater thinks you've been great.
I am great, aren't I? Or is he talking about Anne?
He's totally talking about Anne.
That makes more sense, because he just insults me all day long, every episode. He's like the heckler, except I'm not a professional comedian, so I don't have any good one-liners to throw back in his face. And if I did throw it in his face, it'd just get caught in his beard anyway.
His beard blocks it.
What was that, Ann?
I do feel like when people call me great based off of this product, it's like, oh, she's just a sweet, innocent thing who just wants to make a product for kids and get them involved. And inside, I am a demon person who no one trusts when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons.
When we first got on the mic and you said fuck, I'm like, oh. I was cracking up. I was like, even the innocent ones, the ones you expect aren't like that. Because that's the people at church. They think I'm the sweetest thing in the world. If they ever listen to my show, their world would be shattered. All right. So, damn, it's late. Where?
You mean early?
Early. Well, early for her, late for me, early for you. Damn third shifters. We hope. Oh, I already said that. So if you did enjoy our show, you can help others find our show by leaving a hopefully 5-star review on iTunes. If you don't know anybody that signs up on iTunes and leaves us a review before the end of March, we are going to toss them all into a pot, and I'm going to draw out a name and give a free copy of our Unearthed Tips and Tricks book on the DM's Guild. So definitely do that if you can, if you like our show, if you think it's worth the effort. Or if that's too much, you can just send us a letter an email telling us how much you appreciate the show. I love those emails, by the way.
He does.
Keep them coming, because sometimes it's hard to want to keep doing this because it's so much work. But every time I get an email from you, I feel great. Make Justin great again. God, it's getting late. All right. Where are we at? Oh,
Patreon.
Oh, yeah. If you would like to support our show, you can do it in many ways. You can give us a like and a share and follow us on social media, on Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. Lots of great content on that. Joining our show live, much like Tate and Popcorn and is it Popcorn?
Pop Hornet.
Pop Hornet.
Pop Hornet.
Pop Hornet. It's like popcorn. So anyway, and Savra and many other generous Patreon donors. You can also watch our shows live, not live, but watch the video footage after at any time.
Uncut, for better or worse.
Yeah, mostly worse. Brandon also does art commissions. You can find that information over at our Facebook page. Make sure to subscribe to our show at critacademy.com so we can help you on your future adventures. You'll also be entered to win one of the prizes each and every single week. We give away 3 prizes on the episode. This week we gave away 4. Isn't that fantastic? You'll also be able to find our fellowship links there. Check out, if you haven't followed Crit Academy, we're Crit Academy.
We're Crit Academy.
Hopefully you're following us. You can find, shit. I can't think of anybody's name right now. Oh, I got it. You can follow Gabe and Jeff. They do Inter-Party Conflict. Their show is much like our Let's Talk About Blank segment, but they actually do a good job of answering the questions. And you can check out D&D Character Lab. Every week they build in-depth characters and argue their validity, whose baby's better, like battling real bards. It's pretty cool. Of course, Brute Force and Ignorance just is an actual play D&D that just joined our show. They're going to start giving away some of our product on their show as a prize. So
nice.
go over and check them out. You can also check out all our other fellowship members there. There's a bunch of people on our crew, so check them out. Before we close out here, Anne, would you like to give yourself a plug?
Sure. I am on DM's Guild as Anne Gregersen. I have a few products on that. I have something on Drive-Thru RPG as well, but that could be found through DM's Guild. And I have an upcoming project, actually about kids slightly, coming out with other DM Guild creators, called Clonker's Guide to Being a Hero, which is a collection of child-friendly adventures that we've been working on.
That's
with
awesome.
authors from the- So I'm really looking forward to having that come out.
I love that the one time I don't ask, is there any secret projects? She's like, yeah, I got one. I read the notes, asshole, and I came playing with something, but you didn't read it. I totally. Well, and
I get that I actually listen to this podcast a lot. Like I know you. I know I'm gonna plug even if they don't ask me.
Smart.
Wonderful. Well, that'll do it for our show. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
Now I'm your guest, Anne.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening.
One more time.
Yes. Should I just say my bit again? Or
Just
what?
thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
He kind of started to say it, so I had to cut him off while you were saying it.
Oh,
but
right. Sorry.
you're on the
I
same
forgot-
channel, so I can't just fix it. Which I'm hoping to fix. I actually think I learned why it's doing that, so that's got me super excited, almost as much as sex. So hopefully I'll get that fixed. Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Whee! Thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for staying in.
That's awesome.
Did you say you listened to our show?
Yeah.
Like this isn't the first time? I just
I've
assume
listened-
that the people we invite on haven't actually listened to our show. Well, that's awesome. You're
I've been a
awesome.
fan since about like last summer. So when you contacted me about Little Heroes, I was like,
Wow, man, I never thought I'd have that effect on anybody. Mostly it's just like, here comes him. Yeah, he's here again. That's it. That's a guy. Well, we really appreciated you coming on. Thank you to all our patrons for joining us. You were an amazing guest, and when you release your next product, let us know. We'd love to have you on again.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions for us before you leave? Something that you've been wanting to ask since you're just a big fan?
Yeah, actually, how do you two stay so handsome? I don't know exactly, and I want to know the secret.
This is news to me.
That's news to me. Like, is it the goatee? Because I'm pretty sure Joe and Molly were giving me a hard time about this bad boy.
Definitely, that might be why. I can't grow a goatee. I would love to. I think it would really define.
It would go really great with your eyes, I bet.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, as someone the other weekend, I went to someone's birthday party at a bar, and when I sat down with the people, they're like, "Are you even old enough to drink?" Me, I'm 30.
You have the baby face that every person in the world wishes they had.
Yep.
But thank you for the wonderful compliments. That was very nice of you.
No problem. You've given me so many. I felt like I have to give back a little.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Do you want to just send that information to my wife so she knows? I mean, I will give you her email. You can just say, "Hey, I just want you to know."
Hi, Justin's wife. I have something to.
All right, I think that'll be it for tonight. Thanks again for joining us, Anne, and I am so sorry that I cannot pronounce your name. But I can't pronounce anybody's name, so you ain't special.
That's what I needed to hear.
All right, you guys all have a good one, and we will see you later. And get some rest, all right?
Bye.
Wave to the camera. Bye.
Waving.